and welcome to What to Watch. I'm Clint Gage. With me, Joshua Yehl.
Hello.
David Griffin.
Hello.
How you guys doing?
Pumped by this trailer.
We pumped by the new Joker trailer?
It looks crazy good.
Are we going to go ahead and call it the best comic book movie ever?
Even before it's come out, yes.
We willing to do that?
I think so. It looks like it definitely could be.
I would name that alone on Joaquin Phoenix's myriad of facial expressions, which I just cannot stop looking at. Every frame that he's in, it just feels like, I don't know, he's expressing so much without even needing to say that much. And it's just incredible. I mean, I can't give him an Oscar, but I want to give him a nomination just off this trailer. I might have been going too far.
But you can give him the nomination.
Yeah, I can give him the nomination. I have that power.
Wouldn't it be crazy if yet another Joker performance got an Oscar?
I mean, one of the things that I really love about this trailer is it feels like it has the potential to sort of be DC's version of what Logan was for the X-Men movies, right? Logan was kind of a standalone movie. It did its own. It built off of the X-Men franchise, but it didn't really need to. It was pulling more tropes and more inspiration from like older films, as much, if not more, than the comics that it was based on, because it's sort of loosely based on Old Man Logan, but there wasn't a lot of that made it into the movie. And so it feels like it has that potential to be that, like, just really cool, off by itself, very, just a really quality character study of a film that's also based on comic book characters, just the same way Logan was.
Yeah, I think you're right. Even in Logan, when he picks up the X-Men comics, it called into question whether all of the previous movies and continuity we had seen like was real or mattered, and kind of became like this meta thing. So yeah, it was very standalone, even though you could see it as the end to like Logan's story throughout the X-Men franchise. But yes, it definitely looks like that's what Joker is doing. And that's why it just gives you like these chills. It's really embracing Martin Scorsese's work. It's obviously very inspired by things like Taxi Driver.
King Comedy.
Yeah. Just like Logan was influenced by these other Westerns. And so it is really exciting to see them do a Joker movie with such high production value, this brilliant use of music, an incredible performer, sort of an art house quality picture to it. Just all these things coming together to tell a superhero story that's actually about a supervillain, but doesn't necessarily have all the tropes of the comic book movie that we're used to seeing.
And I hope it's just more proof that DC can continue to do these one-off stories and not feel forced to, have their Justice League thing going all the time. I mean, yeah, Marvel does a great job with that, but if DC was just the home of like one-offs, that would be great. I mean, you can tell a one-off. You have these great actors, great directors and writers and cinematographers. You can create these compelling stories, these one-offs, without having to worry about tying it into a broader universe. And maybe they'll do that. We'll talk about that later, but they don't have to.
It also, and this trailer gave us a little bit more of a feel for what's going on in the world around Joker, right? And so the trailer hints at he's basically riling up this town, and he becomes this symbol that everybody's sort of getting behind, and everybody dressed wearing the Joker masks and rioting in the streets, and he's obviously getting a real big thrill out of that, and so like there's a relevance of what's going on in this trailer to things that are happening now, and you got to wonder, like, as they were developing this movie, and again, these standalone movies, you can do that. Like, you can address real world stuff that's going on through Joker. So I mean, it looks like it's going to be a fascinating story.
Yeah, it definitely, it echoes kind of what's going on, not just now. I guess you look throughout history, but yes, now.
We'll take now.
There's civil unrest,
right?
And I'm not gonna point to specific things, but you can imagine, but of people taking on like masks and guises. Oh, here's a good example of how people use the V for Vendetta mask to protest and to have like rallies and stuff, all wearing that mask. You can kind of substitute that for what they're doing with the Joker masks. And so, yeah, it does have this real world undercurrent to it.
The first trailer had showed a little more of his relationship with his mom. And in here, you didn't see as much of that in this newest or the final trailer. So that's one of the aspects of the story I'm interested to learn about, is his relationship with his mother. And, tell me about your mother, and how that, psychologically affected him. And if she is as big of a role as we think she's going to be, and that's what shaped him to become what he is, or if there's something else at play here. They don't give away too much in these shows, which I really like. This is the final trailer, and it's only the second one.
I think that's great, especially in a world where we get so much. I actually like watching all the trailers and stuff, but I understand the sentiment of getting too much and kind of getting the full movie.
Yeah.
But I feel like the rollout of these trailers has been so great because the first one introduced us to Arthur Fleck, right? And we learned about kind of who he was as a man, as a person, and his relationships. And this one introduces us to the Joker. And it very much bridges the gap, or it's the next step up from that last trailer. And we get a little more of that civil unrest, and we see the madness, and we sort of see a little bit of the motivation when he's talking to his therapist of sort of like how this could happen to a person who has access to therapy and such, and how he could go off the deep end and become something as maniacal as the Joker.
And I'm wondering, too, how Robert De Niro's character is going to play into it, because he's sort of has a hand in creating the Joker, according to this trailer, with making fun of Arthur's stand-up routine a little bit. And then him showing up on the show later, you kind of have to wonder how any sort of like how the media can sort of feed into this. And so it'll be interesting to see that dynamic as well. So it is kind of a one-off, and it does seem to be doing its own thing, but it does also take some cues from the comics.
Right. I would point to The Killing Joke. I actually don't know if anyone's come out and said that that's what this is, but that's what this is. But very much like Logan, like we were saying earlier, it's not a strict adaptation. Because there's a lot of very different things. Batman's a part of that story, not in a lot, but he's there. This movie will have Thomas Wayne and little Bruce Wayne.
Little Bruce.
But I think it's taking the core idea of the flashbacks from that comic book of when we were seeing Joker, the man he was before he became Joker, and how someone could just have one really bad day and become the Joker. I think they're stretching that out and showing how a series of events could sort of make someone the Joker, but it definitely has a lot of strong themes and vibes that I get from the Killing Joke comic book, which is considered the best Batman and Joker story perhaps ever told.
So I guess the last question we have to ask then is, if this is as big a hit as we think it's going to be, if it's going to be the best comic book movie of all time, like we've already claimed it to be, what are they going to do next, right? Can we spin this out into a bigger DC cinematic universe? Like, obviously, I don't know that it's going to square away with the current Aquaman and Wonder Woman and those guys, but like, how do you build a cinematic universe around this Joker?
I wonder if you don't do the cinematic universe and you just have like kind of a sequel to the Joker where you then meet Batman. Although I do want to point out that Bruce Wayne is a little kid in this. So by the time he grows up, that you need what, like 20 more years? Let's say, but he's put him in his 30s. That means the Joker is going to be like what, like 70 or 80 or something
like
by the time Batman is in his prime. So I don't think Batman squaring off against a mentally unstable senior citizen is going to be that exciting.
Yeah, no, I agree with Joshua. I don't want to see necessarily it spawn off into this bigger DC expanded universe, whatever they want to call it, but I would like to see a Joker sequel. I know Todd Phillips already come out and said, look, I'll do anything with Joaquin any time of the week. If he wants to come back and do another one, I will do it. But they did their own take on not part of the Matt Reeves universe where we have Rob Pattinson portraying Bruce Wayne, but a separate story set within the Joaquin Phoenix world. I'd like to see that.
That's the thing about it. Both of these trailers for this version of Joker are so different than what we've seen. Like, we talk about superhero movies being sort of grittier and a little more grounded, but ultimately they're not, right? Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy was not grounded, like not the way that this movie looks to be. And so like the version of Batman that would show up against this Joker would have to be a very different Batman that suited that world. Like, Christian Bale's Batman would not fit in here with his like sonar phones or whatever the hell that was in the Dark Knight. Like that, it would have to be a very different one. So if it is a younger maybe Bruce Wayne tries his hand at being Batman like immediately after his parents get killed or something, like, and so he's like a teenager or something, like I mean, it would have to be something very different if they continue to do that.
I've seen some people say they want to see a sequel where Harley Quinn is introduced. It also would beg the question, do you then introduce other sort of realistic versions of other villains? Do you want to see then like Two-Face show up and the Mad Hatter?
I do think that kind of misses the point of what this movie wants to be too. Like I think this movie feels to me like it wants to be a one-off. Like and I just let it be a one-off. Just let it be its own great. I mean, like in the comic, let it be the Killing Joke, and then go back over and continue writing all the other books that maintain a continuity of some kind. Like let it be its own thing. And frankly, I don't. If it's really good, I'm probably not going to want another one.
That is a good
I'm going to
point.
say that right now.
That is actually what happened with The Killing Joke, was that it was its own standalone story, but then it was so good and everyone loved it that they folded it into DC continuity, and now that's what happened.
Yeah.
So that would be funny if, this movie was just so good that then we have Joaquin Phoenix facing off against our bats.
I mean, you see some of the people are like, oh, I can't wait to see him like fight Batman. It's like, it doesn't. It's
not
just
what
two
they're doing
trailers,
here.
but I don't think he's gonna fight Batman. I really don't. So it's exciting to see that something new, and it would be really great to see it to just let it be its own thing. Go make another one similar with a different character, and
Give us gritty Catwoman.
gritty Catwoman. Absolutely.
Give Halle Berry another shot.
Yeah.
Give her another shot.
That's what
That's what everybody's asking for.
Yeah. Yeah, the second chance nobody asked for. So that is what we think of Joker. Let us know what you think about it in the comments down below. And check out more What to Watch with our conversations about Bond 25's new title and a Spider-Man Venom crossover. As always, stick right here on IGN wherever you like to watch.